the biggest thing that I know is that I never thought that this would be easy.
From the time of Susan B. Anthony leading the women's suffrage movement in America to today, women's rights have grown by leaps and bounds. Women can vote, hold public office, and aspire to any position they dream to achieve. However, vast inequalities and injustices still persist to this day for women and other marginalized groups. It's time to push harder.
Once they did, I remember being told there was a huge headline like, "We found him," or "We've got him."
At the current rate, it's projected it will still take another 75 years before gender inequality is eliminated. Women make up more than 50% of the world's population, yet hold only a fraction of the number of public offices that men do. It's time for women to have a greater voice at the highest levels of decision-making.
It means that a wife is equal to her husband. Not better, not worse. They are equal.
The concept of feminism isn't about having more power than any other group. It's about equality. It's about having the basic and fundamental human right to have a voice and influence changes in the world around you. And not only for women, but for all groups who have been marginalized over the years. Media continues to normalize sexism even now. Men and women both need to take part in the conversation and learn to recognize injustices. Use your life experiences to help guide your own moral compass. Remember, the people in power who control these decisions and use their influence depend on you more than you depend on them. Use your unique skills that you have learned throughout life and change the world around you. And most importantly, keep pushing harder.
But for most women, when you're going in there and you want to have a job interview and you want to feel your very best and you want to feel confident, you want to be wearing the pieces of clothing that make you feel that way.
The achievements of the women of New Zealand who campaigned for their right to vote and were the first in the world to achieve it are universally admired. In looking forward to this very special occasion, I reflected on the importance of this achievement, but also the larger impact of what this symbolizes. Because yes, women's suffrage is about feminism, but feminism is about fairness. Suffrage is not simply about the right to vote, but also about what that represents. The basic and fundamental human right of being able to participate in the choices for your future and that of your community. The involvement and voice that allows you to be a part of the very world that you are a part of. And women's suffrage is not simply about the right to vote for women, but also about what that represents. The basic and fundamental human right of all people, including those members of society who have been marginalized, whether for reasons of race, gender, ethnicity, or orientation, to be able to participate in the choices for their future and their community. At the age of 11, I had seen a commercial at the time that I found to be very sexist, and something struck me internally. No one was telling me that it was wrong, but I knew that it was wrong. And I think sort of using that as my moral compass and moving through from the age of 11, being able to see that at that age, I was able to actually change this commercial before social media, before being able to, have a larger reach, just putting pen to paper. It really set up the trajectory for me to say, if things are wrong and there is a lack of justice and there's an inequality, and someone needs to say something. And why not me? But if you have young boys as part of this conversation as well, you're moving the needle in a different way because they're not mimicking learned behavior that could be incredibly sabotaging for a young girl's potential. Because again, I think this is part of the education piece, not just for girls, but for boys and men to understand what we're talking about when we talk about feminism. Again, it's not just about girls going to school and becoming smart girls. It's knowing that those smart girls become influential women, and that ends up changing the world for the better.
It's such a joy to speak to you today, to young women around the world who aren't just poised to change the world, but who've already begun changing the world. Last month, I had a chance to speak to the 2020 class at my high school alma mater, which is an all-girls school in Los Angeles. And I said that they shouldn't see their graduation as an ending, but rather as a beginning. The beginning of a journey where they can now harness their work, their values, and the skills, all the skills that they've learned, to rebuild the world around them. You have already spent years embodying and yes, even enacting the change you'd like to see in the world. Yet the opportunity that lies ahead for you is the same one that those graduates and millions of young women around the world have as well. I want to share something with you. It's that those in the halls and corridors and places of power, from lawmakers to world leaders to executives, all of those people, they depend on you more than you will ever depend on them.
And here's what's staggering. The studies show that at the current rate, the elimination of gender inequality won't be possible until 2095. That's another 80 years from now. And when it comes to women's political participation and leadership, the percentage of female parliamentarians globally has only increased by 11% since 1995. 11% in 20 years? Come on! This has to change! Women make up more than half of the world's population and potential. So it is neither just nor practical for their voices, for our voices, to go unheard at the highest levels of decision making.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.